have told that boy to shut up, or punched him in the face, or challenged him to an anything you can do, I can do better sing-off. My parents were staunch union members and supporters. We were a blue-collar, working-class family waiting for our little shower of trickle-down prosperity while being crushed under Reaganomics, sustaining on government cheese and free school lunches, in which ketchup was considered a vegetable. Fact. Thanks, Reagan. Therefore, my parents were Democrats, and vocally so, but they weren't socially liberal. That's not really what early 80s politics were about. The two parties mostly disagreed about the role of government in the everyday lives of straight, white Christian males, and maybe their wives, while basically ignoring everyone's. In fact, my dad was a misogynist who once told me that black men are better at basketball because one of the ligaments in their knees is shorter than in other races. And my mom was married to a misogynist who used Civil War era science to explain why his beloved Celtics couldn't beat the Lakers. So when the Democrat running against Reagan in his re-election, Walter Mondale, named Geraldine Ferraro as his running mate, the first woman on a major party ticket, there was no feminist celebration in my house. I think my parents were even saying some of the same things as the Republicans. Is a woman tough enough to face our enemies? Will the Ayatollah deal with a woman? Can a woman be trusted so close to the nuclear code, you know, with all those lady emotions? Also a fact. I was just old enough to just understand the news enough that this was historic. And that my parents were voting for Mondale because they hated Reagan. And the boy sitting across from the lunch table at me knew just enough to know that his parents were voting for Reagan. So when I said my parents were voting for Mondale, he looked at me and said, "Do you really want a woman as vice president?" I really didn't see what the big deal was. Why couldn't a woman be vice president or even president? It was early enough in the 80s that we were still listening to Free to Be You and Me in class. That was a 1971 children's album, thank you. Young people. It taught against gender stereotypes, like girls can be construction workers and it's okay for boys to cry. So I was just old enough to just understand that we were being taught girls could do anything while the world was telling us no. It made me mad at my parents, teachers, the adults lying to us. And I thought it was stupid that Geraldine Ferraro was being told she couldn't do something because she was a girl. I wanted to say that to the boy sneering at me across the lunch table. His friends were looking at me, waiting for me to answer. I was new in that school and having trouble making friends, so I had to make a decision. Say what I really thought, or maintain a chance at making friends. I looked him in the eye, and then I looked down and said, "No, I guess not." The boys all nodded their approval, then went back to a conversation I was not welcome in. I felt gross, and I didn't understand why. To me, this election and the chance at our first woman president was not just about the moment in history. It was about that moment and a little girl unable speak up and give 1,000 reasons why a woman could do anything. And it was about no little girl ever having that moment again. I started thinking about this story months ago, and I wrote the first half in the weeks before the election. I bought my niece's Hillary buttons, and I planned to include this piece inside a Rosie the Riveter card to tell them that they would never have to defend the possibility of women's leadership because it would be a reality. And that I knew they didn't fully understand why her election was so important, but I was grateful for that because it meant that would be normal for them. And then we could take more steps forward in equality for everyone, all colors, all genders, all religions, or none. Instead, we all had that moment. It's not just that Hillary lost, it's that she lost to someone who has overtly and tacitly embraced racism and xenophobia, who has zero respect for women, who has bullied, insulted, and treated anyone who disagreed with him as an enemy, who has emboldened those with the worst instincts to target other colors, genders, and religions, who told the rest of us, hey, that's enough progress for now. Instead of celebrating that little girls could unabashedly dream of being president, I'm wondering what to say to my nieces and if I should bother giving them those buttons and cards. We don't know what to expect from this next era of America, how much we'll have to fight, or how much bravery it's going to need. The uncertainty causes hourly perspective swings for me. In my darkest moments, I wonder if I should watch The Man in the High Castle and take notes on being part of the resistance. In my darkest moments, I wonder how much will be taken away from how many and how much I'll have to give up to fight for them. In my darkest moments, I cry because I don't know if I possess the required bravery. In my best moments, I think of an article I read after the election. The article wasn't that great, but the headline stuck with me. In the time of Trump, be Eleanor Roosevelt. To me, that means no matter how you've been underestimated by others or yourself, know that you have a reserve of untested strength to tap into. That we all need to use whatever we have, privilege of skin color or wealth, born leadership skills, compassion, whatever it is, use it to help those who are most vulnerable. That if the world seeks to define you as less, seek to redefine the world so that you and those after are and have more. In my best moments, I go back to that lunch table. We elected a supervillain lunchroom bully as the next president. The vice president is his sidekick, egging him on, whispering bad ideas in his head. The Speaker of the House is the nerd who turned his back on his math club friends once the bully started copying off his paper and now cowers in the shadows while his former friends are tormented. In my best moments, I remember that little girl did stand up to a scarier bully, her dad, 10 years later. And I remember that my nieces sit at lunch tables with more and more kids who aren't straight white Christian males. We must stand up to the bully for them. We must be Eleanor Roosevelt. I don't know how, and I don't know what our roles are yet, but we don't have a choice. Let's just do it together.